a 50-50 split on whether or not people really are in support of nuclear power. That's pretty high for a global, in the global ranking. It's the third highest in the world. India is the highest. And despite this, despite the relative support for nuclear power in the U.S., I would contend that nuclear power is dying. And it's for two prominent reasons. One is public opinion. And there's a study that was done that came out somewhat recently that asked the question, when you think of nuclear, what is the first word that you think of? And the number one answer was disaster. The number two answer was bad. And only 15% of respondents said good or anything that was very positive about it. Another poll asked whether or not taxpayers should, in some way, have to foot the bill for nuclear power. And the U.S. is very consistent on this, and they say 75% no. The taxpayers should not have to support the nuclear power and nuclear energy industry. And that gets me to my second reason why nuclear power is dying in the U.S., because it's just too expensive. Right now, estimates for overnight cost, which is basically if you were to build a nuclear power plant immediately using available money right now, is ranges from about $5,000 to $10,000 per kilowatt of capacity, which ends up being, when you get finished building your plant, a $10 billion or $20 billion plant. It's a lot of money that no one's really able to put the bill for. The only way that plants can be built in the U.S. right now is with some sort of federal help, such as loan guarantees, which is becoming a lot more toxic in the U.S. with our current political climate. Around the world, there's much the same issues, and that nuclear power is so expensive. The exception, really, which is relevant for us here in Asia, is China. China has a fairly ambitious plan to expand their nuclear energy industry. Before Fukushima, they plan to expand the capacity from 5 gigawatts to about 80 gigawatts by 2020 by building about 25 new plants. It's unclear how much that has changed since Fukushima. Most estimates have it coming down to about 60 gigawatts of capacity, which is a lot of energy. It's about as much as France. However, this should be looked at in the context of China as a whole. Even if the full 80 gigawatts of power gets built in China, it will still only be about 5% of China's total energy usage, and you must compare it also to the 200 gigawatts of wind power that China is building and 100 gigawatts of hydropower. Coming back to the U.S., the real controversy in the U.S., as I say, is not about whether or not nuclear is going to die, it's about how it's going to die and when. And the fight right now is over relicensing of plants in the U.S. All plants were built before 1980. They're reaching the end of their 40-year life cycles. Almost all of them are reapplying to the Nuclear Regulatory Commission for an extension on that. And so you have these very old Generation 2 power plants, which are applying for another 20 years of use, if not longer, 30 or 40 years. It looks right now as if these approvals are going through. Vermont Yankee is a very controversial plant. It's in the state of Vermont, which for those of you who don't know, Vermont is a very small, very liberal state in the northeast of the U.S. And they are very environmentally conscious and have been opposed to Vermont Yankee for a number of years. But even there, the protests against Vermont Yankee are somewhat small. About 1,000 came out to protest about a month or two ago after the relicensing. And that's compared to in Japan yesterday, we had 20,000 people come out and protest. So I guess in conclusion, in the U.S. situation is that people are fairly split. Some are vociferously against, but in the end, it's going to be economics that bears the nuclear powers.